Hello, how you doing? Welcome. This video is just going to be a little bit of an introduction to a natal chart. If you've never had a reading before, or if you're just new to the practice of astrology, um, looking at a natal chart for the first few times or first few years can be quite an intimidating experience. There's lots of little symbols, and it can be quite overwhelming with its apparent complexity and what's going on. So before we have a reading together, or before we start working with a chart, I'm just going to use this video to introduce you to the basic fundamental elements of the natal chart and what we're working with, and get an initial sort of demystification, de-scarification of the tool that is a natal chart. So here is the base of the natal chart. And as you can see, on the inside of the circle, there's all these little black symbols here. And each one of these black symbols, these are collectively referred to as the planets, but they represent an array of celestial bodies that people use in terms of astrological interpretation, as well as points. So there are planets. Here I have an asteroid, Chiron, and then like the ascendant is just a point in the sky. It's not an actual physical body. And the north node, etc., etc. So all of these black little symbols here, collectively referred to as the planets, these all represent the sort of what about you, what about this chart, what about this person, what about this time. The key question answering what. So say we're talking about the moon here. This little symbol, this is talking about the what of you, of the moon speaks about your emotional body. It speaks about experiences that help us feel nurtured and calm and safe and supported. The moon can be related to our experience of our primary caregivers in life and our relationship to food. So this is a general area of a what that we're talking about. If we're talking about Mercury over here, we're talking about your mental faculties and your ability to communicate ideas and your relationship to exchange, as well as short distance travel, and just overall general information processing, information intake, processing, and delivery and exchange and communication. If we're talking about Saturn over here, we're talking about limits, we're talking about structure, responsibility, duty, our relationship to our primary authority figures in life. If we're talking about Mars, we're talking about your action, your drive, your energy, your will force, your ego energy, the desire to go, get, and do. So all of these planets here, these black little symbols, are all a different sort of what about you. The next element of this natal chart, we're going to be looking at the signs. And so these are these colored symbols here. There are 4 different colors, each representing a different element. And these signs collectively, in terms of interpreting from a chart, represent the energy of how. So we have the planets representing what, and the sign within which they're placed is going to be speaking about how that planet is expressing itself, the characteristics, the nature, the fundamental descriptor elements of the what of the planet. So here we have the moon in Libra. So the moon, as we said, our emotional body, our emotional processing, our feelings of nurturing and support, is expressing through the sign of Libra. Libra is an air sign, so there's a certain objective quality and mental analysis taking place through which the emotions are being processed, just as a general elemental delineation. And then in the sign of Libra, Libra has to do all about with like relation, and a balance and paradox and harmony being ruled by the planet Venus. There's a relaxation and a refinement to it. Dealing with interpersonal relationships, this person might emotionally process best with another person, or might emotionally process best um, through art, through experiencing art, or things that reflect the inner experience of the emotional body in an outer way somehow, through reflection. If we have the sun over here, or actually, yeah, Mercury, the mental faculties, through the sign of Cancer, we're getting a thinking faculty, which is going to be more emotionally influenced, being in a water sign as Cancer is. So the thought processes, and Cancer is actually ruled by the moon. So this person's thinking ability would be more, yeah, emotionally influenced. Um, so a different sort of what, or a how. Finally, these little slices of pie in here, these 1 through 7, of within which all of the planets and the signs are correlated to and placed within. I am here using the whole sign house system. These little slices of pie in the chart all correlate to a different place of where in the life or where in the experience this energy is showing up. So we have a what, we have a how, and then this first house is talking about where in the life. So the first house, we're talking about the person, the personality, the embodiment, the physical vehicle. Directly opposite the first house of the native, of the individual, we're looking at one-to-one relationships primarily. The 10th house, we're looking at career, calling, vocation. The 4th house, we're looking at the area of life of the home and the family and the ancestry, etc., etc. So each of these 1 through 12 slices of pie here are a different where in the life. So we have the what, we have the how, and we have the where. And finally, all of these little jumble lines in the middle here, all these crazy interlocking web of connections, all of these lines are speaking about the quality of communication and dialogue and interchange of energy between different areas of the life. For instance, how is the ascendant in the first house in Capricorn relating to our ability to communicate emotionally with our close, intimate partners? So the direct relationship between our first impression, rising sign energy, and our capacity to speak with others emotionally has an opposition effect in this chart. So there's an element of tension and contrast there. If we are looking at Venus in the 6th house, making an opposition to Neptune in the 12th house, again, this is representing a relationship of opposition and tension and contrast between these two areas of life. Squares being more challenging, a bit more frustrating, but can lead to mastery and skill. Trine relationships being more harmonious and easy flowing energy, but can be taken for granted or remain undeveloped. So yeah, these are just the different communications between the areas of life. So the what, the how, and the where, and then the dialogue and the communication. And those are pretty much the basic elements of a natal chart. Now you'll see these little green symbols on the outside of the chart. These are all have a corresponding part to a planet on the inside of the chart. The difference between these is that the black planets on the inside of the chart are in a fixed position. This is the energy with which this native or this individual or this chart was born with at that time. This inside energy and pattern does not change. This is carried with the individual throughout the life. This is sort of the cards that one was dealt with, so to speak. These outer planets, these reflect the current movement of the planets presently. Or if it's not a present chart, if it's a past chart or a future chart, it would represent whatever date and time is set to this marker here. So these planets on the outside shift constantly and are in constant conversation with the planets on the inside. And these are known as the transiting planets. Other information we have in the chart, this box over here is just another way of describing what's going on over here on this chart. So this is the same information, really. This is the placement of the planets. So here we have the sun at 26 degrees Cancer, and here we find the sun at 26 degrees Cancer. So this is just another sort of list. This box over here is a synopsis of the elemental and the modal placements and energy of the chart, just sort of a shorthand of like how many planets are in fire signs, how many planets are in air signs, earth, water, etc. How many planets are found in cardinal signs or fixed signs or mutable signs. And then which planets are found in cardinal water. Oh, here we have the sun, and cardinal water we know relates to the sign of Cancer. So here we can just see, again, another way of describing that the sun is in Cancer. And finally, this last chart over here, this is another way of describing all of these relationships of lines in here. So for instance, here we have the sun with a trine to Uranus. And over here we see a sun with a blue trine relationship line here to Uranus. And here we have the Mars square the ascendant. And here we have Mars square the ascendant. So just another way again of describing this information we're going on here. So for an introductory to a chart, and at least for preparing to have a reading with me, that's pretty much a really great start on the basic introductory and familiarity with a chart that you'll need to know. If you have any further questions, feel free to contact me either with an email or just wait until we have our reading together to ask them. Either way is good with me, and I am here for you. I hope you have a good day, evening, midday, whenever it is for you, and I will see and talk to you soon. Take care. Thank you.